Conversations here continue this morning, and of course, our next conversation is going to be centered mostly around Nigeria's, proposed entry into the G20 and what can possibly be achieved. I remember in the last couple of years, there have been calls for not just Nigeria, but the African Union to be pulled into the G20. The summit, of course, is going to be held in India on the 9th and 10th of this month, which is just in a couple of days. The Nigerian president, of course, is expected to be present, I beg your pardon, along with, different, about 40 CEOs, I think, along with also Nigerian ministers, about 4 Nigerian ministers that will be present. It is expected that he will be selling Nigeria to the world and some of the biggest economies across the world. And that's basically the idea behind it. But what can Nigeria possibly gain? I remember the Buhari administration also was, or attended the G20 summit in, I can't remember where that was now, Bali, I think. No, not Bali. But did attend the G20 summit, but it didn't seem to achieve much for Nigeria in 2016 or between 2016 and the end of his administration.
Yeah.
So will this be more beneficial?
That's a very valid question. We hope that we'll be able to have our guest answer, today. And also we hope that we'll be able to see the effects of this G20 summit. The G20 is a very powerful force. Yeah. About 19 countries and the European Union, and they hold about 85% of the world's GDP and 2/3 of the world's, population. So if all these forces coming together, our president being able to go there to sell the country, to be able to attract foreign investment, that'd be a great move for Nigeria. How exactly he hopes to do that, we don't know yet. Yeah. What exactly are the things that he's looking to use to sell the country, we're not quite sure. Yeah. We're just going to have to wait to see exactly how it turns out.
Absolutely. But of course, the big question, like again, what she said, what's the likelihood that this will pull through? And of course, in what ways will Nigeria's membership of the G20 improve lots of the country, especially Nigeria's economy? We're joined this morning by Dr. Austin Nweze, who of course will be shedding more light on this. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Great to have you on the program this morning. I want, let's start with, the general conversation about Nigeria attending the G20 summit. The Nigerian president is going with about 4 ministers and, a couple of CEOs across the country. The idea is to woo investors towards Nigeria and, of course, give Nigeria maybe a stronger stance, maybe likelihood of also joining the G20. Do you think that this, as it currently stands with our current economic standing across the world, do you think that this will be beneficial for Nigeria?
Well, you know how the geopolitics is shifting, and the question is, why are they inviting Nigeria now? They did that, I think, in 2016 or thereabouts. And what came out of it? And the whole thing is, what are they going there to do? What is Nigeria's interest? Are they going to become members or one of the members of the G20? Will they understand the language of the G20? So it's a very interesting moment. The geopolitics is shifting towards Asia right now. So Eurasia. So why is the West interested in having Nigeria now? So because of the interesting games that the BRICS and the China and Russia are playing in Africa these days. So whether anything will come out of this, whether Nigeria will benefit, of course the West will benefit, because in an attempt to get endorsed by the West, I don't know whether this government will be in a desperate move to succumb to any deal that they're offered, just to get recognized as as a new government and all that. So I don't know what deal they're able to make. Of course, they'll be desperate to make deals, and then the West will be willing to, take, get the offer. I mean, so it's interesting. What are they going to that with the agenda they have in mind? Are they going there for continuous exploitation of our minerals? Are they going there to, I think that we should sit down and really do our housekeeping, and then not just rush to some of this, even though it's a good media hype, it's a good media this thing. But again, what are we going to, not just investment, what kind of investment are they bringing? The investment we need now is manufacturing.
Yeah, but so don't you think that we can build on, Mr. Nweze, don't you think that the current government can build on relationships with these countries to attract foreign direct investment, because that's generally the idea behind these relationships?
Well, some time ago, Nigeria used to attract between $7 and $11 billion. I think in 2010, 2009, between 2009 and 2011 or thereabouts, Nigeria used to attract the highest foreign direct investment coming into Africa. All right, and from 2006 rather, and as things began to, economies began to head south, the foreign investment, direct investment, is also heading the other way around. The other places where that they have more incentives and more benign political system, so it's Nigeria has, I don't know whether it's up to $4 billion now, and so the foreign direct investment that you are looking for, yes, it's good to build on it, and then it's the outcome. Is the outcome whether they have the capacity, to be able to drive that, So if any foreign direct investment will come, in what form apart from minerals? There are basically three ways. If you check all the foreign direct investments that have come into Nigeria, it's in the financial services, in the oil and gas, and in the telecoms, maybe, I don't know, maybe technology, one other area which I can't remember right now. Okay, so that if they're able to craft and sit down with the right people, and because all these things, yes, you're going with 4 ministers, and then which is by the way, commendable for you to go on a trip with less government, and it's no longer a jamboree, maybe, and then you're going with some CEOs as usual. Okay, and these CEOs, who are they? Are they CEOs in the critical areas of our economy? Okay, are they manufacturers? Okay, how many of them are in manufacturing? Okay. So it's, these are some of the issues. Who are the CEOs? Okay, so if what we need now, and more so to get out of the wood, is production. We need manufacturing. Absolutely. Anything to manufacture.
And we're hoping that
that's what we need now.
We're hoping that we can see more of that manufacturing happening here. We're just going to have to wait to see the deliberations that will be reached at the G-20 summit. We know that President President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also going to be addressing the Nigeria-India summit. So we're looking forward to hearing what the deliberations and the conclusions will be, concerning this. Thank you so much, Dr. Austin Nweze, for joining us.
Yeah.